Solar winds swept clean this planet 4.5 billion years ago. Earth thrived. Its natural elements helped it to flourish, and its bounty was for all to share. Then a life form of superior intelligence evolved, and for a while lived in harmony with the Earth. But paradise has been put into jeopardy. The motives are irrelevant. The consequences, severe. The remedy is written. The elements of life are clear.
In this edition of Elements, we check out a revolutionary new eco-friendly housing scheme under construction that promises a high quality of living while achieving a balance between energy, production and consumption. By releasing the Hydrogen 1 concept vehicle, General Motors have renewed their commitment to technology, environmental leadership and more specifically, the production of vehicles which offer economical use of the Earth's resources. With Britain on the home straight in the battle against foot and mouth disease, Prime Minister Blair urged his fellow countrymen and women that they're not out of the woods yet and to be extra vigilant in ensuring this dreaded disease never returns. With longer space flights in the planning, life's little essentials like air, water and food mightn't last the distance. Ecological life support systems may be our only viable solution. And the deadly rattlesnake may soon seem a little less terrifying now that a small biotechnology company based in Wales has developed a new and more effective antidote, the first in over 50 years. But first, the main cause of hay fever in Tokyo has been identified as the Japanese cedar tree, which covers 12% of the country's landmass. The trees were planted as a result of a government-backed scheme in the 1950s and 60s. Blustery, warm days are especially trying for hay fever sufferers as pollen rises like smoke from cedar forests located more than 100 kilometers away from the edge of Tokyo. As the trees have matured, the problem has ballooned to affect 1 in 10 Japanese, or around 13 million people. Government statistics show the number of sufferers increases each year. 1 out of every 5 Tokyo residents were affected by the pollen 10 years ago. That figure has since doubled according to Maiko Iwaki, a Tokyo Metropolitan Health official. While the cedar trees are the main cause of the debilitating problem, environmental pollution has also been banned. Pollen counts take place daily at 11 locations throughout Tokyo. After World War II, many cedar trees were planted and are now pollinating en masse. Pollen from these trees is gathered into glass slides and the particles are counted under a powerful microscope. Once the daily count has been completed for each of the 11 test sites, data is compiled and released on the Health Department's internet site. Rather than take medicine, the department advises people to wear masks and goggles to protect themselves. But it's not just a health problem. The Japanese economy suffers an annual loss of $82.67 million from reduced efficiency at work caused by the symptoms of hay fever. From mid-January to the end of April, stores double their stocks of masks and goggles, while drug companies increase supplies of eye and nostril wash to help ease the public's discomfort. And if all else fails, hay fever sufferers can always join the Pollen Busters, a game on the internet's pollen information page, where, with a little practice, victory can be achieved over prickly pollen particles. In related news, a major asthma study is to be launched following an announcement at the World Congress on Lung Health in Florence, Italy. Aimed at determining whether control over asthma is truly achievable for all patients, this major study will be funded by Glaxo Wellcome. The key reason for the study is the growing realization among respiratory experts that current levels of asthma care fall short of the standards set by international authorities. In addition, many patients acknowledge that asthma limits their lifestyle, but are not aware of how much control they could achieve over their disease. The study will also look at the impact of improved asthma control on quality of life, healthcare funds and related costs in order to evaluate the impact on the burden of asthma to society. The announcement coincides with the launch of the first and only asthma product to simultaneously treat the two main causes of asthma symptoms, inflammation and bronchial constriction. From this to this, the conventional to the future. This is architect Bill Dunster's home at Hampton Court, southwest of London. He's been interested in green architecture for 20 years and believes his mission in life is to show that eco-friendly living is easy. The house runs on solar energy at a fraction of the cost of other energy sources, and efficient insulation has allowed for much lower heating costs than in conventional homes. The conservatory houses magnificent flowers, while the green theme even extends to the family cars. Their electric-powered vehicles run 50 miles on £1.50's worth of electricity. They can be recharged from the electricity supply of the house, which is generated by solar energy. It's clean, efficient and economical and doesn't contribute to global warming. According to architect Bill Dunster, there's simply no excuse for not utilising renewable energy sources for all our future power needs. And it's here at Z, or the Zero Energy Development Housing Project, that he designed, that Bill's trying to prove all his eco-friendly theories. Z is being developed by Bioregional. By the time it's completed, it will be the biggest of its kind in Europe. Everything here is recycled. Even these steel girders have been rescued from a railway station. The low-energy buildings are constructed using renewable resources and minimizing waste. The fiberglass insulation between the wall cavities is almost a foot thick, storing warmth efficiently, and all homes are being built to face south for maximum sunlight. The development, with its on-site nursery, organic shops and solar-powered carpool for shared vehicles, points the way to the future where green living is affordable, easy and fun. It's not often we get the chance to see and touch the future, such as the Holden zero-emission hydrogen fuel vehicle, a 5-seater for day-to-day use with an operating range of 400 kilometres. Hydrogen 1 is an advanced road-going concept car which already meets the demands of everyday driving. Propelled by a 55 kilowatt 3-phase electric motor, it offers a top speed of 140 kilometres an hour. Hydrogen 1 was developed at GM's Global Alternative Propulsion Center located in Mainz-Kastel, Germany, Rochester, New York, and Warren, Michigan. The car's continuous power output is 80 kilowatts, and its peak output is 120 kilowatts. The liquefied hydrogen is transported in a specially insulated 75-litre tank at minus 253 degrees Celsius. The electric current is generated by a fuel cell stack that consumes pure hydrogen. The stack consists of 200 individual cells arranged in a series and measuring only 590 by 270 by 500 millimeters, making it just as compact as a conventional petrol or diesel engine. For the 250 specialists at the Global Alternative Propulsion Centre, the most important future objectives include developing lighter and more compact fuel storage technologies and contributing to the development of an infrastructure that will ensure widespread availability of hydrogen. According to the project's co-director, Dr. Erhard Schubert, hydrogen is most definitely the fuel of the future. A propulsion system using hydrogen fuel cells as optimum efficiency, emits nothing but water vapour, runs practically noise-free, and at the same time is fun to drive. Holden showcased the leading-edge zero-emission concept vehicle during the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. In keeping with the Green Games philosophy, Hydrogen 1 is entirely pollutant-free. It represents another major step forward on the way to a volume production fuel cell vehicle. General Motors researchers and engineers believe commercial vehicles with hydrogen technology like this prototype will be widely available within this decade. Veterinary consultant Dr. Tony Andrews says the British government's slaughter policy has been absolutely necessary to bring the contagious foot and mouth virus under control. Dr. Andrews thinks some people have got the wrong idea about foot and mouth. Even if infected meat was entering the food chain, it wouldn't pose any danger to humans if consumed. While humans can contract foot and mouth disease, no one was infected during the recent outbreak. During the 1967 outbreak, which lasted several months and involved large numbers of workers, vets and farmers being exposed to the disease, only one person was infected. Britain's Public Health Laboratory Service has cleared 13 people who thought they might have caught the disease. Their tests proved negative, and Britain is a safe place to visit once again. At the height of the crisis, the Institute for Animal Health at Pirbright in Surrey was on standby to provide the necessary vaccine supplies had the government decided to go ahead. The institute houses an international vaccine bank with 500,000 doses of each of the 7 strains of foot and mouth disease. But if an animal without the virus was vaccinated and then came into contact with the disease within the next few days, it could still pick up the infection and become a carrier. A gamble the government wasn't prepared to take. Ministry of Agriculture officials argued that Britain would lose its export market for between 3 to 12 months if vaccinations had gone ahead. And while it isn't quite business as usual at farms and gardens across Britain, much of the pressure has eased. Claremont Landscape Garden is open to the public, but there are precautions against foot and mouth still to be taken. The gardens date from the reign of Queen Anne, but are now managed by the National Trust. According to property manager Andrew King, many other sites are opening all over the country. And his message to overseas tourists: please do visit the wonderful landscape, as the country folk need your support now more than ever. The National Trust has even set up a website which is updated daily to let everyone know which of the properties have been reopened to the public. Down the road from Claremont Garden, Cobham's Paynes Hill Gardens are open to the public all the year round. There's the obligatory Gothic ruin and a pheasant pecking in the hedgerow. Not much has changed here in over 300 years. Places like Paynes Hill are safe for people to walk in, as they don't have footpaths that cross farmland. Perhaps it isn't possible to walk all the way around Britain's famous parks and gardens, but they're still well worth the visit. And on a final note, when top government ministers arrived at 10 Downing Street to hear Prime Minister Tony Blair say that the number of daily cases of foot and mouth had fallen, the time was set to make a recovery. Prime Minister Blair, who was joined by Britain's Chief Scientific Advisor, Professor David King, and Agriculture Minister Nick Brown, praised everyone involved in fighting the disease.
The risk remains of cases arising.
Professor King reminded the assembled press that the risk of cases arising in areas which were already infected or in new areas still remained, so continued vigilance was of the utmost importance. This eye-catching sight on the horizon is Tenacious, a unique British square rigger built entirely from wood. At 65 metres, Tenacious is the biggest craft of its kind ever attempted in the world and the largest wooden ship to be built in Britain for more than a century. But what really makes this craft special is its crew and its shipwrights. They're a team of able-bodied and disabled people who've worked together not only to sail the ship, but to actually build it. It's the second and more ambitious stage of an overwhelmingly popular initiative launched by Britain's Jubilee Sailing Trust. The trust already operates mixed ability sailing holidays on its flagship, the Lord Nelson. That steel craft spends some 42 weeks a year at sea and can no longer cope with the demand for places on board. So the trust decided to commission a second ship, Tenacious. The director of the trust had the inspired idea that the trust should build the ship itself and bring their philosophy into practice. The integration of able-bodied and disabled people achieved by working together and understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. Lifts connect the ship's 3 decks. With wide side decks and companionways, Tenacious is designed to accommodate 8 wheelchairs on board. Its voyage crew numbers 20 able-bodied and 20 disabled sailors. Special markers, tactile deck patches and braille signs aid the blind. During the 4-year construction period, some 1,500 disabled volunteers assisted 100 professional shipwrights in building this remarkable vessel. Tenacious avoids using mechanical winches on board. Rather, it's sailed by a watch of 10 people. 5 able-bodied and 5 disabled sailors work together trimming the sails on each lofty mast. Tenacious will circumnavigate Britain and visit the continent during the summer months and cruise the Canary Islands and the Azores in the winter. Her maiden voyage saw her sail through Britain's Channel Islands and then on to France. So much about the shuttle program is spectacular, from launches to spacewalks, that it's easy to overlook the mundane. Though they seem Herculean at times, astronauts in space are still bound by basic human needs: fresh air, clean water, and nutritious food. Till now, bringing the necessary supplies from Earth hasn't been a problem, since the longest shuttle flights have lasted 10 to 14 days. But now NASA has to look towards long-duration missions due to the permanently orbiting space station and planned trips to Mars, where the costs of hauling all of life's essentials would be impossible. In seeking alternatives, scientists at the Kennedy Space Center are looking to develop a controlled ecological life support system, or cells, where plants recycle air, water, and waste to produce food. Their effort is currently centered in an old pressure vessel salvaged from the Mercury era. It's called the Biomass Production Chamber, and in it, researchers are producing their first new crops. Each day, workers tend the small farm, taking measurements and ensuring that everything is functioning properly. The wheat is growing in an enriched water-based solution with a process called hydroponics, which eliminates the need to carry heavy and potentially contaminating soil. Another advantage is that it's easy to control the nutrient levels the plants are fed. Computers are used to adjust the contents of the nutrient solution, as well as atmospheric conditions in the chamber. Growing plants is only the first step in creating a complete life support system. Food processing, crew habitation and waste management modules must all be developed and connected together to work as one complete system. At Disney's Epcot Center near Orlando, there's a pavilion called The Land, showcasing future agricultural technologies. Certainly growing plants in space is futuristic, which is why there's a display featuring the research going on at Kennedy. But Andrew Scherger, Epcot's senior plant pathologist, isn't just part of the exhibit. He's investigating root diseases in hydroponic systems. Keeping the plants healthy is a critical concern in developing a life support system for astronauts thousands of miles from Earth. NASA and Disney scientists are also looking at the possibility of growing plants in lunar soil. Using Earth-based mineral deposits similar to those found on the Moon, they're trying to determine whether lunar farms might be another alternative to resupply runs from Earth. Lunar farms and controlled ecological life support systems, work aimed at providing the essentials for long-duration space missions. The unmistakable sound of the venomous rattlesnake. This specimen at London Zoo is coiled and ready to strike. Its bite has a devastating effect on the human body and is often fatal. There are 40,000 bites recorded in the US each year, with 8,000 needing anti-venom treatment. The existing antidote has a side effect known as serum sickness, which is often as serious as the bite itself. Now, British biotech company Protherix has developed a new, much safer serum called Crofab. A flock of Protherix sheep are injected with a small amount of rattlesnake venom to produce antibodies. The antibodies are then genetically purified in the lab. 2 parts of the molecule, normally related to serum sickness, are removed, leaving just the element which becomes a more effective antidote to the deadly venom. Doctors in the US usually wait to see how bad a bite is before administering the current antidote. Now they'll be able to treat all snakebite victims on arrival at hospital. Crofab represents a remarkable step up from its predecessor, which was developed more than 50 years ago. In pharmaceutical standards, the rattlesnake antivenin market is very small, but perfectly suited to Protherix, who will have effectively cornered a niche market worth over £50 million. They're also developing a similar treatment for antidepressant overdoses and a vaccine against high blood pressure. The lessons learned from treating snake bites are helping to develop many new products.